but it's from Bobby, so we all know how that goes.
It's from Bobby, and one thing about Bobby, he doesn't say your first name, he'll say your whole name, just in case there's like 80 million Serenas, and be like, okay. Yeah. How you holding up out there?
Not bad, actually. Not bad. Yeah, of course, it's scary times, as all over the world it is. But here in Heidelberg, we've actually, we went into shelter in pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
And that became kind of the new normal early on for us.
Sure.
Actually, last week, they started to open up a few things. And then next week on Monday, a few more things will start to open up, and they'll start slowly rolling some things out and testing it and retesting. And I mean, that's kind of be, like I said, the new normal now is to see, what are the numbers looking like, and how can we adjust to make it still safe for everybody, safe and healthy,
Exactly. I'm gonna put my toe in the water. I'm not gonna just jump in.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the city opened up last week, or I think it was last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still like, all right, I'm still going to respect it and stay away. And, I've been okay staying at home or going on walks and staying with my own little small social bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Don't need to jump back and, like you said, kind of go all into the water again.
Yeah. So what does it mean for you, basketball right now? For those of you who are listening, I know, but once you talk about like where you at right now in your stage of your career, I've read some things, and then what does that mean for you with all of this?
So right now I'm currently, I guess in the middle of seasons, but like last season, the last 3 seasons, I've been the assistant coach for the first women's team out here in Heidelberg, Germany.
Wow.
And parallel with that, I'm also the head strength and conditioning coach for the men's team out here, the first men's team. And they're Pro A here in Germany, also in Heidelberg. And that's basically second division in Germany here. So I've been doing that parallel for the last 3 years. And yeah, it's been a crazy ride. Before that, I came out here professionally and played. So I played for Heidelberg itself for about 9 seasons. That was my one and only kind of stop from after college to here. And then it kind of I guess you could say natural progression after that. I was offered to assist the head coach who I had played for, who had originally brought me over here. So once, Corona hit, everything, as we all know, the sports world came to a screeching halt. And everyone lost their sense of, okay, what's going on? Gyms are shut down. There's no games on TV. How do I fill all this free time when we're normally in the gym a lot of the time, and then luckily for us here in Heidelberg, in the last 2 and 3 weeks, they've opened up the gyms to a limited capacity. So with on the men's side, hi, Bobby.
Hi. Yes, I'm sorry.
All good. Got to make your entrance. It's all good.
You do that, not him. I don't need to think in Tupac.
What is?
Your fingers in the camera, right?
I don't want you to hear Charlotte in the background going, "Bap."
That's funny. That's funny.
So Serena, for if this wasn't happening, where would you guys be right now in the season? Would you guys be smack dab in the middle of the season? Where would you be at?
Sure. So for the women, they actually shut us down 3 days before our last season game.
Ooh,
so we technically didn't finish out the season.
Yeah.
And then obviously, so there was one more game of regular season, and then the playoffs would have happened. For the men's side, there were still several games left, so the season was still probably 2/3 of the way done. So then so let's say the last third of the season was canceled, and then of course playoffs would have been canceled. We have May, so it's probably already over by now.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So did you give you an idea of what the environment's like with us right now? We have 16 participants. So we got players from all over our area, your area, chiming in. We got Coach Ted on, and then we got, obviously we got Bobby. So I think they'll be able to help me out in conducting this chat with you, because like I said, we've heard so much about you. We'll jump all over the place, and then the girls are going to be putting in questions through the chat. So I'll just read those off. So we may bounce around, jump around. There's some things I definitely want to get into. But like I said, I'm excited. So I don't want to rush into everything, but hopefully we can get through as much as we can. Like I said, I'm really excited about this. So one of our players, her name is Mackenzie. She's out at Monte Vista Christian High School. And her question is, what drew you to play for that team overseas?
Sure. So I guess I can answer that by backtracking. I don't know if everybody knows my story, but I'm from Seaside, California. Went to high school at Notre Dame, Salinas, the lovely Spirits. And
a couple rivals on here.
Bring it on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, don't hop off. Stay on, ladies. Stay on.
So after Notre Dame, obviously during my time at Notre Dame, I was playing for West Valley. And then after that, I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to play at St. Mary's College in Moraga, so the Gales.
Nice.
I played 5 seasons there. I ended up redshirting a year, tore my ACL twice in a year, so naturally had to sit out a year. Fought my way back. That was the end of my freshman year. Continued my career with the Gales, and then after that, honestly, I was burnt out and didn't want to play anymore.
Wow.
Just the grind of, we also had a coaching change. So the coach that brought me in, their philosophies and how they saw basketball being played was completely different than, the new coach. And that originally wasn't what I signed up for.
Yeah, right.
But of course, a new coach coming in had to establish, their principles and their views. Would I change any of it? No, just in that moment, it was like, all right, this is different.
Yeah.
After that, like I said, burnt out and ended up starting my graduate school work there at St. Mary's still. About half a year went by, Christmas came around, and I realized, okay, I really miss basketball. I want to play again. How can I explore that? In the States, for us women, us girls, it's females, it's hard. If you're not in that top 1% after college, you're not gonna, go on. It's really WNBA or bust for the most part. I know that there are semi-pro leagues and some club leagues and all of that. But for me, it was the allure of, okay, let's go overseas. Let's go learn a new culture, live in a new country, be comfortable being uncomfortable, which was also terrifying, if I'm being completely honest.
Right, yeah.
It definitely wasn't all, oh yes, great, exciting. My heart was pounding, and you got to sometimes just take that kind of leap of faith. In December of 2008, long story short, I met up with an old teammate who had been playing overseas. She said, hey, I'll hook you up with my agent. The agent said, we have a showcase in December over here in Germany, where she was located. Even that, there was doubt in that. I was like, okay, well, that's expensive. I have to pay my own way.
Right.
What if I'm not good enough? There's all this self-doubt, negative talk. But I'm thankful and fortunate. I've had I still have, obviously, a really, really great support system. Those that believe in me probably more than I believe in myself. And they said, if you don't do it now, you're never going to know. Mm-hmm. You're never going to be able to at that point. Because again, I'm coming right out of college, young, no real responsibilities at that point. I can go and kind of be free.
Yeah.
I went to the tryout. It was a 3-day showcase, if you will. the coach from Heidelberg was there, and I talked to him and his assistant at the time, first day. Hey, here's our situation. You know, do you think you could, you know, be a part of it? They were a young team. They were trying to move up. They were making moves, from a lower league up into a higher league and all of that transition.
Okay.
And then, so from there, I got picked up basically through that camp, that showcase.
Mm-hmm.
Went home for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, packed my stuff up and had signed with them and was back in Heidelberg in January of 2009.
Wow.
Yeah, that was kind of a long-winded answer.
No, that was awesome. How did you prepare for the tryout? How much time did you have, and how did you prepare?
Not a lot of time, honestly. So after, I was burnt out, but I still worked out, still wanted to stay fit and in shape. I was still, like I said, going to graduate school at St. Mary's. So open gyms, open runs, all of that. I would still be able to play and all of that. And that was one of the reasons why the agent said, you know, there's this half a year gap that these coaches don't know, what, have you just been sitting on your butt? You know?
Yeah.
And we're going to sign you based off of your college film. No, like it's better to come out and play. We're talking a matter of maybe 2 weeks that I had to kind of turn around.
Yeah.
Just, and that's everything, mental, physical, psychologically, all of that was just again, that negative self-talk of, nah, I can't do this. This is too big of a jump. There's going to be, my family was going to get money together and they're going to send me over because again, one of those kind of once in a lifetime experiences. So yeah, again, through thankfulness and gratefulness of my support system, they said, all right, you can do this, go show what you can do. Yeah.
And Ted and Bobby, if there are any questions that's burning within you guys, feel free. Just hop right in. I'm curious, especially because a lot of the girls are at either going to go to college next year or, so we run the gamut, you know how it is. So going back to high school, when did you know what, I'm pretty good at this? And then when was there a point where, you know what, I'm not that good? And then was there another point where you're like, hey, you know what, I'm pretty good? So where was that point of where, you know what, like in your little area, I'm doing my thing. Now I step outside, play West Valley, venture out, I'm not that good. And then how'd you get that back again? So I know that was a long-winded question.
No, it's all good. I
wrote it down. It sounded
I actually didn't have a usual start into basketball. I know, I do realize that there's different paths and different journeys, but I actually was a softball kid growing up. Did the whole T-ball, played travel softball. And
damn good.
So, in that reference, I actually had the college dream of going and getting a scholarship through softball. That was, like I said, from T-ball going on all the way up until high school. And it honestly wasn't until high school to where I switched over. And when I started to be involved with West Valley, that I was like, oh, this sport's fun. Like, you play as a kid and you play in PE class and all of that. But it was that switch over. I came out to a West Valley practice, my very first one. First of all, I was late and I was terrified. So, that was a whole another aspect of like, I don't even know what I'm getting myself into and I'm late and I hate being late in general, but now it's a whole new experience. They're going to think that I'm a slacker and, not focused and not, all in. So that was another I have a lot of terrifying moments in my life, but that was also really terrifying, But yeah, I didn't realize that I was actually good at basketball or competent at basketball until high school. Like I said, once I got to West Valley and started really exploring details of the game, even just the simple fundamentals of ball handling, your shot, coming into your rhythm, defensively, trying to anticipate, obviously we all know the sport of softball. It's much slower as far as speed, reaction, anticipation, decision-making, all of that it was just like a new aha moment for me and said, okay, wait, basketball's a lot more fun at this moment. And it was kind of the perfect time to switch over. And like I said, freshman year, went out and had a really fun and successful freshman year at Notre Dame. And it just kind of built up on that. Then the summers, obviously we all know spring workouts for me, commuting, up into the San Jose, Saratoga area, back and forth Saturdays and Sundays, and then, get home and do homework, and then go back to school on Monday through Friday. We all know the grind. That's why we're part of it.
Right.
But as I continue to develop and see, okay, like I could be good at this, there's just something that kind of clicked. I can't tell you what it was.
Okay.
But throughout my entire life, I've been taught, work hard. I wasn't, nor am I, I'm still not the most athletic. I'm not the most talented, skilled, any of that. But like, I'll work my butt off and I'll probably outwork you. If anything, I'm going to show my grit in that sense, and that I think is what kind of helped change my, vision of, all right, cool. Maybe I can make this basketball thing work for, for a scholarship, for all that. Of course, as you alluded to, one of my first tournaments with West Valley, I'm like, oh, cool. Salinas, Salinas area, high school, nothing. Like I'm big fish in a little pond. Great. Go out to these, national tournaments. I'm like, oh, I'm taking a crossover, and then she's going and, laying it up for a 1-0 layup the other way. Like, all right, got some work to do. And at the first moment, it was like, terrified. Again, really scared. But then it was, all right, we need to get back in the gym. I need to work on my fundamentals. I need to work on the stuff that I can control. That way, the next tournament or the next summer, things might be a little bit different. Either we're going to be on the same level, or I'm going to be the one stealing the ball and going on a 1-0 layup. Just trying to have that, again, support system that said, hey, you got this. Don't work hard. If you put the work in, you'll be rewarded. Although in that time, I didn't fully believe or know what the reward was. I just knew, okay, let's work hard. Let's put that grind in. And then you see the results, right? You see, okay, I can dribble with my left hand and not look at the ball. I can go 10 for 10 on my one dribble jumpers after I've been working on it for, half a year. So those little steps, but that idea of, all right, I'm going to outwork you, and we're going to go put this work in for sure.
You know what, that you mentioned a lot with your support system. Everyone's support system looks a little different. Can you kind of describe yours and how that looks?
Mom and dad.
Mom and dad, exactly.
Mom and dad.
But what I want her to do is to describe it and see how other people, not necessarily say, oh, I wish I had your mom and dad, but how could they make their support system work for them based on what you say about what you have?
Sure. I mean, as Bobby alluded to before, the foundation of my support system is mom and dad. And then obviously right behind that, my two younger brothers, for sure, because they're the ones that got stuck in the car on long drives up to, up on the weekends, and they had no choice. And they're like, God, we have to get up at 6 a.m. right now. Like, why? I'm not doing it. So why do I have to get in the car and wake up, So yeah, I think for mom and dad, and I've said it as well, is just that hey, you got to work hard. You got to get up and go to work. And however that looks, whether it's homework, whether it's, again, basketball, softball practice, whatever it is. And again, so thankful for that it was like, all right, at the same time, when I had such a support system, I was like, all right, I don't want to let them down. I want to, prove them right. I can't imagine how stressful it was for my parents, not only just to get up every weekend and take me out there, or sometimes during the weekdays, for evening practices, the time, the money, like, let's be real, it doesn't, it doesn't cost nothing to get in the car and put gas in the car, or all the snacks and food and all, everything on top of that. So to have all of that, it at some point became a motivation to prove them right and not let them down, you know. I think that was a huge thing. And then as I started to see, okay, reaping the rewards, then I said, okay, let's keep fueling this. Let's, you know, in a way, and this might be kind of off topic, but because I had such a good support system, I then wanted to kind of, you know, extend my hand and extend myself to others, because I was so lucky and so fortunate. I do understand, you know, there are people and their kids, you know, coming up that maybe don't have a 2-parent household, maybe only have 1 parent, or maybe living with their aunt and uncle or grandma and grandpa. I understand that. It doesn't have to be parents. It's that sense of who's there to support you. And I'll be the first to say there were times where I was not happy with my parents. You know, let's put that out there too.
Exactly.
They are the support system, but they're going to push, or they pushed me to do certain things where I was like, no, I just want to go hang out with my friends. No, I just want to, you know, go to that party. No, I just want to sleep in. I just don't want to get out of bed, you know? And you have to remember, it's obviously easier to say it now than, you know, looking back. But if you have someone in your corner who's pushing you and you feel like it's a nagging, or you feel like, man, they just won't get off my back, again, whether that's with schoolwork or, you know, hanging with a different crowd or going to practice or whatever it is, step back just a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lot, but just a little bit of like, okay, so why are they doing this? Like, they have your best interest at heart. They want you to succeed. And that's, again, first was parents, and then the coaches from West Valley and the family that West Valley is. That family that obviously now I'm coming back and being a part of it as well. Just to be able to reach out and as we talked about, James and also Bobby, you know, to share my story. And it's hard to, as a kid in high school or going on to college, to think, all right, like I got it all figured out and they're just nagging and whatever. But we've all gone through those little things to get through. So it'll turn out once you work hard and get rid of the distractions.
So, I mean, we talked about this in the chat, and Bobby and Ted, you know, played at a high level. My level wasn't so high, but I'm fascinated on how did you get to that point? Like, okay, let's just start with high school. How did you get to, let's just say, give me 3 things that allowed you to get a D1 scholarship? Because it's some people can't really wrap their head around that, because it's definitely challenging, you know, especially somebody from, you know, our area. We're not a hotbed for basketball, but there are a lot of great players in this area, you know, untapped, you know, potential out here. So what are some things that
I think first, because you mentioned, you know, what are some things you do and how do you get to, you know, that D1 scholarship? I think just to cut that, I mean, to put it in a different perspective, I think that even back when I was trying to, you know, go after scholarships and all of that, I think the biggest thing is getting a scholarship to go somewhere to play, getting your education paid for. You know, it's not necessarily, I feel like there was this, and I don't know if it's still there, but I know when I was going through high school, it was like this ideology of it's Division I or bust. You know, if I don't get to Division I, I'm a failure. I didn't do my job. It's worth nothing. But there's so many ways to be able to get your education paid for. Division I, Division II, NAI, like all of those things, whether it's partial or full. I think that's a huge thing to just kind of just for the terminology, so that people don't get confused of, all right, well, yes, I was very fortunate enough to get the Division I scholarship. But at that point, it became okay, I just have that goal of getting, because let's be real, we can't all play basketball forever.
Yeah, right.
You know, as much as we would love to have this as a job, and I was fortunate to play at that top level, to get paid to play, obviously both for the college part of it, but also overseas and professionally. But that ends at some point. So you definitely have to make sure that you have that educational background and that way to say, okay, what am I doing afterwards? Yeah, I've already forgot your question, but I feel like I just wanted to. I feel like I just wanted to input the whole like Division I thing, just because I remember when I was coming up that it was very like this or bust, and I don't think that's the right way to look at it in that sense.
Definitely, because I'm definitely going to ask some questions that I probably have an idea of the way I see it, but definitely trying to look back on how I was when I was in high school and like, man, I need to go to North Carolina or Duke or that's it. You know what I mean? Like,
sure,
I've failed. But what were some things that differentiated you? I know you've mentioned you're a worker.
Yep.
How did you start to separate yourself from the pack?
Sacrifice, honestly.
Sacrifice.
I kind of said it earlier, but when asking parents to go to football games, Friday night football games, and then afterwards at Notre Dame, Palma, they had this, fifth quarter, so there was a after party in the cafeteria, with music and all of that, and I wanted to go. I wanted to go be social. I wanted to be a part of it. But that wasn't the case, because then I had to get up at 6 a.m. the next morning to head up to head up to the Bay Area to practice and work on my craft to the goal that was further down the road. Again, the goals of getting an education paid for, because let's be real, my family, there's 3 of us kids total, and if all of us want to go to these top schools or get a top education, we're going to have to work for it. And if we can get somebody else to pay for it through our hard work, of course, then that was the end game goal. And like I said, in freshman year is when I really realized, or after freshman year, let's say, where I said, okay, this can be my ticket in a sense. I'd write my own ticket, absolutely, because I have to work on it. I have to make those sacrifices to where I missed out on a lot of things. I'll be real, but looking back, I wouldn't change a thing.
Right.
Because I'm sitting in Heidelberg, Germany.
What?
Living a pretty darn good life, and have had a lot of experiences, and I don't even remember the things that I missed in high school. Again, this is me obviously way in the future self of maybe some of the girls that are players that are listening. But as harsh as it sounds, a lot of those high school memories, a lot of those high school, people even aren't going to be there. I am not friends with who I thought I was friends and best friends with, lifelong friends with in high school. Those people aren't around. And,
right.
And then it developed through college, of course, same thing, sacrifice. Trust me when I say there were kids, on scholarship on our team, still going out to party, showing up and just tired the next day for practice, where I'm like, but we're getting paid in a sense, like we're getting our education paid for, we're getting food in our belly, we have a roof over our head, and you want to go and do that and not show up 100% for the next day? Like that made no sense to me.
Right.
And again, I have to definitely attribute that to my parents and my family, because that's just how it was, if you don't give your 100% effort, somebody else is going to, and someone else is going to knock you off that pedestal.
Man, that's something that we often talk about, but just to hear your story and hear how you've made those decisions, because we all talk about it, it all gets brought up. What were some positive things that kept you going? We talk about the negative and having the support, but what are those aha moments and those things that you see, or those positive things that you see that keeps you wanting to pursue and get better?
Sure. Honestly, I know that's something that kept me coming back to, let's say, West Valley specifically, just because that was, get up in the morning, make the trek. For me, honestly, it was the family atmosphere of it. It was that everybody's showing up and pushing each other to get better. Mm-hmm. Everyone was there for the same kind of goal of wanting to improve, wanting to, get the scholarship, or just be around that positive force. I think that's not just in the basketball side of it, but in general. I'm sure you've heard it before too. Like, you surround yourself with the people that are doing what you want to do, what you're currently doing, or what you want to do, and they're currently doing it.
Yeah.
So if I were to have said in high school, all right, I'm going to go hang out with, these kids that are going to football games and going to the parties and everything, and then they're sleeping in on Saturday till 12. Where are they now? I really don't know. That goes back to I'm not friends with them anymore because they didn't see what I was sacrificing. They didn't get it, and that's okay. I don't hold it against them. But it became this like kind of addiction of, all right, cool. Everybody's here. We're getting up, 8 o'clock. I'm at the gym door, shoes on, ready to go. The door opens. Let's go to work. And there was that sense of family. And that sense of community that was a driving force for me. Mm-hmm. And that started to become also that kind of support system. And I know I'll repeat myself, but those are those driving forces of, all right, in the beginning it was, I want to make my family proud. And those were in my closest circle. How do I do that? I work hard. I try to get to the next step. How do I make the West Valley family proud? Not that I, in a sense, not that I owed West Valley anything, but because I had that sense of connection with them, I wanted to get better, and I wanted to put, their name out there. I wanted to do that. And then again, same with moving up into St. Mary's. That became my next family. That became the next kind of piece of me that I wanted to get better, and I wanted to behave correctly, however that looks. I wanted to, be responsible and be a role model. And that driving force was always like, all right, who am I representing? Of course I'm representing myself, but who am I going to drive to, so then they can be proud of me from where I've come from, kind of thing.
How did you lay out your summers in terms of improvement? What's that?
Gym time.
Yeah. Was there a method to the madness? Like, okay, ball handling, shooting, like, how did you map it out? Cause I know for a lot of us, it could seem like a lot. How can I just structure it in a way and take bite-sized pieces and really start to incrementally get better? How did you do that? Maybe in high school, college, overseas, or how did you see maybe some players that you admired do it? Like, man, I like the way my teammate did it, Sure. I actually honestly don't remember how high school and college, summers and all of that. For me, the thing I've learned over the years is that, it's going to make me sound old, but like, you have your Instagram videos, you have your Facebook videos of people doing between the legs 5 times, spinning one way, spinning back, and then we're going for a reverse alley-oop, whatever. Bottom line is master the fundamentals. And so when you say, okay, how did I lay out my summers? It's even just a simple session is, don't reinvent the wheel. Start with ball handling. Start with a little bit of footwork. How do you put that together? What is your go-to move? For me, I'm pretty sure that my jumper, my dribble jumper, off the dribble jumper was my bread and butter. That was my money maker for sure. So then you drill that. What are different ways that you can, if you think about your game and you can kind of hone in on what are some, maybe not necessarily comfortable moves for you, but things that you're good at, then just hone in on those. I think when we start focusing too wide and we say, okay, I got to work on my step back 3, my setup 3, then I want to work on my, of course you have to work on parts of that for sure. You don't just ignore them, but find a few points. Like I said, of course, always starting with ball handling, being able to not stare at the ball. My position, obviously guard, point guard, that is, that's where I live and die right there is ball handling. So in that sense, that was a must in every session, every summer, every day, anything. And then from there, obviously finishing at the rim. And then, like I said, for me, it was my mid-range game. And I think really focusing on those basics, not trying to say, oh, hey, I saw this on social media, these cool videos and all of that. Just the basics will never die, regardless of whatever level you're at, whether that's at high school, college, here, overseas. You could even ask some of our players, which obviously you won't, but if you would ask any of our players that we work with, and I work with individuals,
sometimes like, oh, and I saw this and this. Nope, cool. Well, great. We're going to go simple 2-ball handling drills that honestly I did back in West Valley. Let's go up to midcourt and back, same time, pound it out, backwards back, alternate, double dribble, go through the legs. All of those things that I guarantee you guys are doing now with West Valley, did them back, you know, when I was there, and I'm still doing them now today with the kids I'm coaching. So the fundamentals will never die. The game's not going to change that much to where all the fundamentals will change. You have those basics down and just improve upon those. That's the best advice I feel like I could give as far as improving and developing, is to not make things complicated. Nice and simple. Keep it simple, stupid. The kids.
You know, and the reason why I asked that question is because like a lot of us didn't have, you know, we had our the people around us where we played pickup, but the players today have an infinite amount of information. So it can be like too daunting. Like, where do I start? Or you're on a path and all of a sudden you see another clip and you're like, oh, I think I should be doing that, you know, and all of a sudden you're off your regiment. So, no, thank you for that. Thank you for that answer. What was the players that you idolized growing up? Where did you pattern your game after?
I love Sue Bird. She was at UConn when I was coming up, for sure. A lot of UConn, Tarasi, Sue Bird, just hard workers. And again, look at their games. Sue Bird is not a fancy, you know, throw the ball up and here one-handed passes. Of course, you have the no looks that comes with the game, that comes with the swagger of the game, 100%. Yeah. But you can't tell me that majority of the games you watch her do aren't just simple, basic, fundamental stuff, you know. And that's, I mean, I guess that's the perfect question after I just said keep it simple, because I was stuck if I picked somebody else. I was like, oh yeah, and one mixtape, here we go. Yeah.
For as a coach now, what are some of the things with some of your players that you're seeing that you like? And what are some of the things that you want to see more? So if there's a kid on this panel that's listening that eventually may cross paths with you, what should they be working on? Like, I mean, I know it's like, let's just stay with the guards, you know, aside from fundamentals. What are some things, even off the court, that you want to see more of?
I was going to say, this is actually a great question, because we're going through, myself and the staff here are going through a bunch of film right now. You know, we're in between seasons. And of course, with Corona, who knows when next season will start, if there will even be a season. Obviously, that's all up in the air. First and foremost, that we all stay healthy and safe, of course. But we have to definitely plan as if a season was going to be regularly starting, and what players and what our team's going to look like next season.
Right.
And so actually perfect that you asked that, because of course we watch highlight films. That's what we start with. Of course, that's the, you know, okay, you can tell a lot by a player by what they put in their highlight film. You know, we were watching a guard the other day, and one of her first, I think in the first 5 clips, it was her coming up and like blocking somebody on a fast break, and we're just like, okay, well, next. Because if you think that that's something important to coming over, you're definitely not coming to our team. You know, it's about the fundamentals of it. It's about I can't harp on the basics enough. If there's the showboating, if there's a difference, don't get me wrong. Like, I was definitely a passionate player. I'm still a passionate coach. And if you were to ever see me on the sideline, I'm still one of the most active people on the sideline, for sure. Yeah. But there's a difference between showboating and that passion, I think. And, you know, that's also something that has turned us away from some players. Watching film is, you know, they have the extra kind of unnecessary flair. So we're like, all right, cool, great. But now that you made that flare, your player or your team's going, you know, on a handicap going the other way on defense, because you decided to make a scene in that sense. So I think the fundamentals of it, we look a lot of when the players think that we wouldn't be looking. We look at the attitudes. We look at, you know, I know some coaches will, if a player that we're watching gets subbed out, granted, for us out here, we're watching film, so you can't always watch the bench. But we definitely take a peek at, you know, are they engaged when they're on the bench? You know, are they leaning forward and they're cheering their teammates on? a teammate gets a foul or a fast break or a steal or whatever, like how are you reacting and how are you engaging? Are you being a team player, and supporting and giving energy to your team? Or are you really taking your break and you're sitting back, slumped down, towel around over your head, uninterested? Those are things that we still, even to this professional level, we look at. Granted, not all teams look at that. I fully respect that. But for us, it's about the little things when you think no one's watching. And
Right.
That's a perfect thing. Like we talked about, the little things of, okay, working hard, getting your butt up, getting your butt out of bed, going to the gym. But also you can put this exactly with West Valley when you guys go to summer tournaments. If a coach is really interested in you, don't think they're only watching you when you're going on the court.
Right.
They're all, you see it. You see all the coaches up in the stands. They don't just go for one game and then they leave. They all just kind of hang out, and they're all watching, whether you know it or not. And most times we don't know it, but they're watching how you interact with the team. What do you do after the game? Are you just, going and I don't know if there's, a cool down protocol or stretching or, preparing yourself for the next game, that kind of thing? Or are you just kind of goofing around and
on your
to a
phone?
certain extent, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Going right to your phone, checking out an Instagram post that you can do for next game. I don't know, but no, I think that it's the basics, and know that someone's always watching.
Right.
Yeah.
Bobby, Tet, feel free. I mean, I can keep going. I can keep going, but if you guys got something, please chime in. How important for you to grow? Let me back up. How do I want to phrase this? How do I want to, or how are you using playing as to help you with your coaching? And what are some of the things now that you're coaching, you're like, wow, this would have made me a better player.
Sure.
If that kind of made sense.
Sure. Yeah. I think that I was a very emotional, passionate player. Like I said, I was not the most skilled. I was not the most talented, but I was going to dive on floors. I wasn't afraid to take a charge. I wasn't afraid to, go after a ball that's going out of bounds and jump over a chair. I was that player because I didn't have, I felt this kind of chip on my shoulder that I had to make up for not having certain skills and talents, and imagine when somebody who has that talent and has those skills puts that kind of effort and passion into it, that's why some of those greats are the greats, because they have that combination of both skill, talent, and then also that work ethic and that passion. I take that from a player standpoint. I take that into my coaching. I don't understand when a player is jogging if they're not tired. I don't understand if a player, let's say a guard, for example, isn't going to fight over a screen on defense just because, my big's there. We're actually, we're dropping down and going under, or some sort of, accepting that someone else is going to pick up the slack for you. Like, why not be that one that sets the tone? Why not be that one that changes the game, changes the intensity, the momentum, all of that. And I think that I definitely bring that from my playing side. And because I'm not so far out, I mean, I'm 3 seasons out now, so 3 years. And I think that's still, I'm still in touch with how, what it was.
Player.
Yeah?
Right.
And so that's why I know for sure I bring that onto my coaching side, where this sense of expectation, and not just for myself, because obviously whatever I have for myself, I want for my players as well. And I think that I sometimes put a higher expectation on them just to show them that they should be expecting more of themselves, and that you can push a little bit more, even though you think you can't, just that sense of, all right, cool. I see this in you. You can do it. And maybe they can't. Maybe there's a mental block. But if I give them the idea that they can, then maybe they actually can. Maybe they can go for that dive, that loose ball. Maybe they can make that next shot. Maybe they can get that next stop. those sorts of things that I willed as a player. Like, don't get me wrong, I loved having the ball in my hand. If something's not going right, like, okay, give me the ball, you go there, and then we're going to run this play. Obviously, I can't do that from the sideline, but I like to try and instill that sense of ownership and expectation, that self-expectation that hopefully, I hope, allows, the players that I'm working with to rise up to that kind of level that I don't think that they even know they have.
James, do you mind if I interject?
No, feel free.
Let me tell you a little anecdotal about Serena that I've never even shared with her. First time I ever saw Serena play in an actual high school game was against Aptos High School.
Uh-oh.
One of our former players, Brianna Hinga, was the star at Aptos at the time. I think Brianna actually ended up being one of the best high jumpers in the state of California before she was done, and then went on to UC San Diego, excuse me. What I was impressed by, now remember, I had no frame of reference other than watching her when we were, when the girls were playing at Saratoga High School.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my first time seeing her pre-game. The girls from Notre Dame are sitting up in the stands, waiting for the game to start, as teammates do. They lump together and share stories, get ready, talk a little bit, laugh, relax, and wait for the coach to say, hey, it's third quarter, we got to go in the gym and prep. Go in the locker room and prep. I was looking for Serena, and I didn't see her. And then all of a sudden, I happened to look to the side of the bleachers. She was stretching by herself. Stretching by herself, getting ready. I went like, okay, that's pretty cool. That's interesting. I haven't seen that before. Next thing is, it's time to go out for warm-ups. Now, Aptos is doing their layups, and they're doing them nicely, doing those choreographed defensive drills, where it doesn't even look like a defensive drill, but it's supposed to be. I'm watching Serena. You know what she's doing? She's working on her ball handling at half court. She's working on her step drag at half court, getting her defense ready. All individual. Grabbed a teammate and said, do me a favor, take some dribbles. I need to make sure I can get side to side the way I want to. You could see it then. I was watching her anticipate. I was watching her movement. I noticed right off the bat, this kid's a baller. Because to me, that's what constitutes a baller. Not the person that throws a tennis ball up with one hand and bounces with the other on Instagram. But the one that actually prepares. Mm-hmm. I knew at that point that she was going to be special. She was already playing well. She comes from an athletic background. The softball thing is because her dad played.
Right.
So it was instilled in her, the preparation. Of course, somebody had to get her out of bed and push her a little bit. That's how it starts. But at some point, it's on you. It's no longer on your parents. And that day, watching her in that gym, before a high school game, and Serena, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I do not think it was a CCS game. I think it was just a preseason basketball game, if I remember correctly. But you guys had traveled to Aptos to play them.
Yeah.
And I was just beyond impressed that somebody would put that much time into warm-ups. Think about that. That's the impetus that I used to create what you see me do now, where come in the gym with your shoes on, laced, stretch before you get in, run, and this is before we start. Because when the bell rings, you need to be ready to go.
Right.
As a coach, I learned that from her and people like her. There's a couple other kids that would do the same thing, but she took it to a whole different level. I had never seen anybody come in the gym at that age and be that dedicated to being prepared at jump ball. And I got to tell you, you saw the difference when the ball was tipped. She's already in control of the game. It was almost as if she had a scout as well. And I don't know if they ever did that or not. I never asked her how much she looked at film at that when she played, but it was clear that she knew what she was doing. And you saw that in how she defended the opposite point guard. There's a couple times I did see her play, including that time. I noticed right off the bat that the first thing she would do when she was guarding somebody is she would make them or allow them, however you would choose to use it, do what they want to do, so she knew what she wasn't going to let them do.
Yeah, because people usually are going to go to their best move right away, right? Off top.
Here you go. The tennis ball move. Here I come. And I'm not saying this to blow smoke up her, but that's just how I feel. I've coached for 35 years, and there's only 2 people I can name in all the years that I've ever worked in basketball, training or coaching. 2 people that had that kind of commitment to preparation. One we have right now, and the other one played for me after Serena. It's hard to find people with that kind of commitment to the game. It really is, because there's a level, and I think the word is not even it's something that we would typically apply as an ethic. I think it's persistence. Serena, did you like losing?
No, I still don't.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's checkers, somebody could get a board thrown at them, okay? And I think that comes from a persistent behavior. So sorry to intervene, James. No. I just thought I'd add that because that was important to me. I witnessed it, and it was one of the things that just impressed me right off the bat.
Well, that's what I told her, Bobby. I said, all the trips and times we've hung out, and he mentions Serena's name, so that's why I was very, very excited, to sit and chat with her, because there's a reason for that. If something's bringing somebody up, and this reminds me of when the time Serena, I knew how important she was not only to you but also to this program, and for the future and the present, players that are on this, for them to, at least listen to you. This is the first time we've only had one question, and usually we have like a bunch of questions. So for you to like answer a lot of the questions or a lot of things that we've been talking about. Or a bad thing. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. I'm like scratching off like questions because I'm like, okay, she just answered that, so I can't answer that.
But I think that persistence speaks volumes. I told you that there were 2 kids. The other one didn't play college basketball, but that persistent attitude that Serena had, Nakia Bechtel had that. She came in the gym hating everybody except herself. She could even hate teammates if she needed to, okay? It's just a persistence that they have. You can't give it. 2 smartest basketball players I have ever coached in my life on the women's side, ever had a chance to work with, are Serena Benavente and Ananya Raghavan. Nobody has got into that level. We've had smart players, but not like this. The way that they can break things down, almost like applying a math or scientific approach to it, and know exactly what they're going to do when the game starts. Both of them I've seen throw a 28-foot bounce pass. They're the only 2 girls I've ever had play in our program that I've ever seen do that. I can tell you the game Serena did it was actually against Aptos, and I laughed my ass off in the stands when it happened, because even the Aptos parents went, oh. That's how impressed they were. And Ananya did it against Palo Alto High School, which made me happy because I hate Scott Peters. So for me, to
digress,
watch,
Bobby, all good.
I'm telling you, it's just remarkable that to watch that quality of basketball player. And I disagree with Serena. I think she was always a baller. I think being a natural athlete helps you so much. I think if you can get a kid that's a great tennis player and they really want to work at basketball, they could be good at it. It's like playing the piano. Once you play the piano, you can play any instrument that's out there, even the violin. Without a doubt. Basketball has that same thing to it, that if you can play another sport and you're willing to work at it, and I think coming with a softball background and her persistence, she's not kidding about the not losing thing. She will never admit this, but she got the serious case of ass when they would lose, okay? They did not lose a lot when she was playing for us, but I can assure you when she did, she was not very happy. best travel game she ever had was against a girl who was being recruited by the Pac-12. And that's where she really showed her stuff. Because the other thing Serena didn't mention, and I was kind of hoping she'd elaborate on that a little bit, was when she talks about waiting for your level, it took a while. The only school that even offered her in Northern California at a collegiate level was UC Davis, Sandy Simpson.
Wow.
And Sandy was convinced he had her. He just was, this is a done deal. You know, nobody else is after her. She's gonna fall right into my lap. In that game that I mentioned where she showed out, St. Mary's assistant coach, and Serena, I don't remember the young man's name, and I should because I talked to him 300 times on the phone. Very nice guy. Was he there when Travis? You said Travis?
Yes.
Okay, Travis King. There we go. Yes. Fell in love with him, and I think and Serena, please correct me if I'm wrong. I think he actually went back and sold you to staff, the head coach.
Wouldn't doubt it. Yeah.
Yeah, that he was convinced we got to have her. We got to have her. I remember the head coach called me to talk to me about what my opinion was of you and what I thought. And I said, if you don't take her, you're stupid. I get told all the time you're not supposed to talk like that to coaches, but hey, they better figure it out. Bottom line is that if you want your team to win, that's what she's going to make happen. How did you feel Serena, how did you feel having to coach teammates in a leadership role, both at travel ball, in high school, in college, and at the pro level? How did you deal with having to temper yourself enough to reach them? Did your communication skills get better over time? Were you just completely devoid of those when you first started? How did you get there to where you were able to amplify your leadership skills?
Before you answer,
yeah,
real quick, I just want to say thank you. I have to actually run because I have a 12:30 Zoom with our women's basketball team, but I got a lot out of this. Bob, thanks for inviting me. James, always great. Serena, if you have social media, I'm going to follow you, so you'll see it already. I just want to say thank you. So I got to run because it's happening.
Right.
So you talking about being late? I don't want to be late. So.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Thanks, Ed.
Yeah, I definitely had to develop for sure. As I said before, being on the court as a player, it's much different because I could easily control the game literally by taking the ball in my hand, by getting a stop and proving that we can get a stop. You know, the ability to physically take over in that sense, of course, was taken away from me when I decided to retire and go on the sideline. I'll speak just to the transition that I had 3 years ago after I played my final season out here in Heidelberg. I would like to say that I was relatively already in the last half of my career out here, already a player coach. I know that I had the respect of my teammates in that sense. They would ask me questions. I would, be the coach on the floor, if you will. And transitioning over, it was almost an advantage for me to be coaching some of the girls that I had played with because I had already proven my motivation, my passion, my intentions, if you will. They already knew the type of person I was and the type of player I was and how much I cared about the game and what I wanted to do to win, as you said. And like I said, that was my advantage crossing over and not being able to physically be on the court was the passion of, all right, hey, again, like I said before, giving those expectations to them more than what they think of themselves and being able to yell, but yell in a way that they knew that I cared, but in a way to motivate them. And I think that was, as you asked Bobby, like I definitely had to work on my communication skills in the sense of ways to explain something that I wanted in a short amount of time. Because if I get going, then I can talk and I can talk. If I'm passionate about it, I think you guys know that as well. If you're passionate about something and you feel strongly about it, you're going to like have to interject and be like, hang on, like, let me talk, or coach, stop talking. So that was, I think, my hardest transition was obviously first and foremost, not physically being able to get on the court and say, okay, this is how we want it done. You go there and there, we're running this play, versus, all right, this is what I want done and done in 10 seconds. That's a matter of talking to like a player when there's a dead ball free throw situation. Hey, run to the sideline. This is what we want. Let's do this on the next one. All right, go. And execute it. Of course, that's game-like situations, but then that goes into practice. And obviously in practice was also a learning process for me to realize when to interject and when to let them, for lack of a better word, fail, for them to learn from their own mistakes, you know. And I think that was a tough learning process to release some of that control, because I also love being in control.
Oh yeah.
So in that sense, of course, it was a relearning process, just like the transition from softball to basketball in high school, and then of course moving up from the different levels of competition was okay. That didn't work. How do I correct that mistake and not let it happen again? How can I not necessarily perfect it, but in a sense perfect that way of communication, way of using my words, way of getting my point across to where it works effectively for both me as a coach and then also for my players to, you know, take that onto the court.
Yeah. James,
sorry, Bobby. I just wanted to touch on this real quick because we're at 12:30, so I want to definitely be respectful of everyone's time.
Sure.
I have two more questions. Bobby, do you have another question? And Serena, if you got to get off right now, I totally understand. But there's just two things, and then Bobby, I know you probably have something you wanted to say too. So
you got it, James.
Okay. So a lot of the girls, their goal is to get to college, play college ball. Putting yourself in that situation right now, stepping on campus at St. Mary's, what are some things that you've already kind of alluded to, like, you know, I'm glad I was prepared, and there's certain characteristics that you have that we know have helped you. But what are some things that maybe not knowing these girls that they could do to prepare themselves for this next jump? It may be from JV to varsity, maybe from varsity to college.
Sure. I think that let's go from JV to varsity is just looking at the varsity team, kind of how you asked me, you know, what players did I look at? What players did I kind of mold my game on? Not necessarily just on the court, but as I said, everyone's watching. You know, how do people conduct themselves off the court when the ball's, you know, not in between the lines? I think that's something to definitely, who can you find and you want to be like them, and why do you want to be like them?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
If it's skills and drills and all of that, great. But how can you get there? Maybe, you know, your ball handling is lacking. Then work on that. Like, find the little small goals to attain, to get to, okay, that varsity player has been starting for the last 3 years. What makes her click, or what do you see her doing? Like, mimicking some of those things. Don't be afraid to mimic. Like I said, basketball is not about reinventing the wheel. It's about, you know, doing the basics and perfecting those as best you can for your capability. You know, the jump from high school to college, kind of the same. Staying true to yourself. Obviously, college, I know this sounds, you know, but for me, it was the first time really away from home. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, what can we do? What are we doing? I don't need to, you know, I have to time manage. I have to figure out all of these, you know, extra things. You got weights in the morning, class, then practice, then class, and then homework. And, you know, don't get too overwhelmed from all of that, for sure. Getting into the college, I don't know if this is a direct answer to your question, but I wish that I would have used the resources that were available to me as a student athlete.
Wow.
I didn't use them at all,
Yeah.
to be honest. And I look back and think, okay, well, you know, why not? You know, I'm not saying that I'm bad off now, but where could I have been, further in my development, not just on the court, but off the court, education-wise, personal development. How do you deal with life after college, like life after being an athlete? Because that was something that was really a struggle for me, was I identified myself as an athlete. I was a basketball player, obviously after high school. As a basketball player, this sounds extreme, but kind of my worth was, hey, how good are you on the court? What are your wins and losses? That's why I hated losing, because that's how people saw me. Like, what's your success based on? Okay, an athlete. And I got myself wrapped up into that, and I think it's really important to stay grounded. And again, yes, basketball is a great tool to use to get, again, for me, to get around to see the world. I would have never come over here if it wasn't for the sport of basketball and the drive that got me here, but again, back to using the resources at college, using the student athlete stuff, they're there for a reason. Use them. Wow.
We just had a talk about resources, and that has come up time and time again. I can't tell you how many collegiate athletes has mentioned the resources and why they didn't use them. Bobby, you got anything?
I think that Serena can actually offer us something that I struggle with, help when working with kids and parents about kids wanting to play somewhere. A lot of times, parents and kids will do their research and say, okay, I want to play D1. Mm-hmm. So the best way to do that is to go look at a conference that's maybe not that strong. Because in their minds, they're being practical, mind you. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to pick the worst team in that conference. Because hell, I know I can at least play for them if nobody else.
Right.
3 years ago, the worst team in the Big Sky Conference was Southern Utah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Serena's close friend and ex-teammate, Tracy Sanders.
Ex-assistant coach.
Ex-assistant coach, sorry, yes. Who I just stare at all the time, so I really couldn't tell you what she is, has taken over that program. And they're now making noise in the Big Sky. And I think, Serena, if you could maybe elaborate a little bit why when a coach is looking for a player, they're not saying, well, since we're really bad, I want to take somebody else really bad so that we stay really bad. I know that most of them, on the men's side, they scour the transfer portal, mm-hmm. looking for that player from Nebraska, from North Carolina or Duke that doesn't want to go there anymore. Mm-hmm. If they can get them to come there. Mm-hmm. And they're competitive themselves. Yeah. And I mentioned Tracy only because I've known her for a long time because of Serena. Mm-hmm. And I know how competitive she is. And Serena, am I applying the right example?
Yeah, like I said, it's actually kind of want to go in a little different direction.
Sure.
For sure, obviously, like you said, with the way that Southern Utah looked at before Tracy got there, it was one of those, we've seen it, a college is in a rut, and it just, we're just going to accept it, and we have our Division I status, and there it is. But I kind of wanted to relate back to my personal experience with St. Mary's, because I didn't even know St. Mary's existed. St. Mary's College, the Gales, the men's program is booming. Mm-hmm. Everybody, knows them. They're on a national spotlight. Also, Coach Thomas with the women's team. As I said before, he was I played under him. He was my last 2 years, and he was completely different than obviously what I had signed up for. But again, I would never change it because he instilled some of the things that I have today as far as attacking and that mentality. But how Bobby was saying, like, it's and everyone thinks, okay, I think you said too, I wanted to go to Duke, North Carolina. They shoot mm-hmm. for these really big names. But if I were to have shot and accepted, not that I was getting offers there, let's be real, but if I would have said, okay, it's either that or bust, I would have missed out on the opportunity to be so effective at St. Mary's. Yeah. Because St. Mary's, the way that they played, when the coach, back when I was being recruited, the style of play they were playing, where it was located, like if you're looking to go to a college, again, don't think of the big name colleges necessarily. Now, if you are of that talent and that skill level, great. Like, by all means, challenge yourself for that. I think an important, great way to end the talk is you have to find what fits for you. Obviously, you have to push yourself and make yourself better and all that. But St. Mary's was a perfect fit because, I mean, from Seaside, Notre Dame, come from a small town. Notre Dame itself, is all girls, so it's also a small campus. St. Mary's is just that on a little bit bigger scale because it's a college, of course, and co-ed. But it's a small campus. There's that homey feel, that sense of security. It wasn't too far from home. I mean, I could go home. I went home my freshman year every weekend, just because I could. So I think that moving forward, and for those that are listening and trying to figure out, okay, what college do I want to go to? What schools and programs, really do a little bit of homework on that. Do the work now, because if you just go to a team or a school that you're like, all right, well, I know that, and everybody else that I talk to and knows that name, but they don't know what the program's about. They don't know who's coaching. They don't know what systems they run, or if they're, in your face pressing all game, or do they drop back into a zone? Like, those are things that, to look at it more on a bigger scheme of things. And then that's just the basketball side. What are their strengths in education? What degrees do they have? What emphasis on those degrees do they have? So looking at it not just from the basketball point of view and the idea of it's in North Carolina, Stanford, UCLA, those kinds of things, but really do the homework, because if you get somewhere and you're not happy with it, then you're not going to be motivated to work hard. You're not going to be motivated to go to class. You're not going to be motivated to get grades or use the resources that I never I think that's one of the things, that do the research early and never be afraid to use the resources around you now. So at West Valley, using Bobby, using James, using Coach Tet, to even connect with old players such as myself, or I know that there are other players from my time and anything in between that I'm sure Bobby can be able to connect in a certain way. There's a player that I had just talked to Bobby about, just went through West Valley, and we're connecting here she has aspirations to come overseas. And that's, you got to do some of the research, figure out some of the stuff first, what's going to fit for you personally. Don't think about everyone else and how they're going to judge where you end up. Because in the end, you're the one that's on your own going to have to do it.
Yep.
Hey, we have a tradition, Serena, before I thank you, I'd like us all to turn on your cameras so she can take a look and see who's been listening. And I think we got up, Serena, to about 22 participants. I think that's how many I counted. So if everyone could turn on their cameras real quick so she could just see who was listening and taking it all in. This is a portion of the West Valley family right now. But man, we really appreciate you. Thank you very, very much. And I saw that I tried to do a little research and watch one of your videos, but it was in German. So I was like, okay, I gotta do something else. Mm-hmm. But this is everybody. So like I said, from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much. When you're back over this way, please come see us. I know we'll probably we won't be able to get over to Germany, but when all this craziness is done, please come see us so we can thank you personally. But that's all I have. Ladies, does any of you have any questions, last minute questions? If something hits you later on, we'll shoot it over to Serena, or you guys connect like we talked about, because hey, it's about you guys and reconnecting. And you heard her here. She definitely is looking to give back, especially putting on that coaching hat. So
yeah, definitely. Just to cut you off,
no, go for it.
You guys can hear it again from me. As I said, I have social media, or James or Bobby has my email, contact information. Any questions about anything? I may not have the answers, but I don't shy away from giving my opinion. And if whether you like it or not, you're going to hear it. And also, if there's anything, like I said, whatever stage you're at, whether, as James said, you're going from JV to varsity to, to college, or when you are lucky enough to finish those years of college and are interested in coming overseas, can't guarantee obviously a contract with me, but I can give you, some pointers and definitely answer some questions, not only about my experiences or just, help navigating that. Because I do know it's a tough road, but at the same time, like I said, I wouldn't change any of it for sure.
With that being said, thank you very much, Serena. You're awesome. Stay safe. You're right, and
everybody as well. Thanks for logging in. Hope it didn't bore you too much, but this was fun. Thanks a lot, James, for thinking of me.
Hey, no problem. Thank you very much. All right, thank our guys. All right. Bye.
Bye, guys.